The So Bros Network presents the movie podcast breaking down films and their impact on pop culture as they approach the legal drinking age. This is Drinking With. Now here's your host, Stephen McCash.
Welcome to Drinking With, the podcast where we raise a glass to the movies that have reached the legal drinking age. I'm your host, Stephen McCash of the So Bros Network, and join me as we embark on a cinematic journey through the classics of yesteryear, celebrating the movies that are turning 21 and celebrating them in style. From iconic blockbusters to hidden gems, each episode we toast to a different film that has stood the test of time and shaped our cultural landscape. So grab your favorite beverage or the one we have curated for this episode, and let's dive right into the nostalgia as we explore movies that are finally old enough to join us for a drink. And joining me at the bar, as always, are the two best people I can think of to stumble out of a bar after a long discussion of movies. First is the resident film critic of the So Bros Network, Mr. Brandon Vick, who is also a board member of the Southeastern Film Critics Association, a board member of the Music City Films Critics Association, and most importantly, the birth giver of the Vix Flicks and Cinema Chronicles podcast, heard right here on the So Bros Network. I'm not sure he really is that smart because he did give Skinamarink 3.5 stars on Letterboxd. And then joining him is the man behind the So Bros Network, the EIC, the glue of the brand, gin aficionado, a cat lover, all-around football wordsmith, a budding sports talk radio star, and the hater of the movie Gremlins, Mr. Stoney Keeley. Gentlemen, how are we today?
Doing pretty well. It's a great day to be alive. I got rice cooking in the microwave.
Oh, Travis Tritt.
Yeah, everybody loves a little Travis Tritt on there.
I did not get that reference at all.
Okay.
Nope, you should have been there.
How are you, Brandon?
I'm pretty good. I don't like that call out about Skinamarink. It was actually done in a very creepy way. Sure, I don't know what really happens, but it's more of the vibe. But I could also see somebody turning it on and about 45 minutes into it think, what the fuck is this? So
or
I'm fine
buying a ticket to see it in theaters and wondering after 5 minutes, what the fuck is this?
Okay, well, now see, I didn't have to go to a theater to see it, but that's how Shudder is. Shudder buys all kinds of things.
Yeah.
That is mostly at the Chattanooga Film Festival.
Fair. We all got the coughs. I'm seeing now that we've finally thawed out from Winter Blizzard 2025 2.0.
It's going around, man.
Yeah, it is.
Everybody has
Mine's more been a sinus thing. I know you didn't ask, but my right ear kind of hurts.
Yeah.
So
okay.
That's my right ear kind of hurts. Yep. I might have given this to you.
I was gonna say,
I saw you the other day. Yeah.
Hey, have y'all kissed recently, like Martin Short and Maya Rudolph at SNL 50 and got COVID and don't know it?
Maybe.
Yeah. The word is that's how they got sick. So who knows?
I personally don't kiss and tell.
I did see that it was going around. I mean, at SNL 50.
Yeah.
And I guess at the Keeley house. I'm not really sure.
Well, why don't we jump into the film we're here to talk about? This is a film I think all three of us are going to agree is like really high up there on our list.
Yeah. Which list though?
Yeah, what list?
List of films we enjoy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just in general, films that we enjoy.
I will say I chose this one. This was my pick because I remember being disappointed by it when I saw it in theaters because the year before Finding Nemo came out and I loved Finding Nemo. But now that we've gone back, I still like Finding Nemo, but it's not quite the masterpiece I thought it was in 2003. However, The Incredibles is it made me like it a lot more now on my second watch all these years later. And I'll get into why. I think a lot of stuff resonates more with me now than it did when I was like 17.
Yeah. Well, I think that's true in several parts. I mean, you're a dad now.
Yep.
But I've also got a soul-crushing job.
Yep.
That makes me want to relive the glory days too.
Yeah. There is a lot in there that I guess you kind of miss when you're a teenager, but now like being almost 40 and as a parent and just married as well, There's a lot that's funny about it. There's a lot of it that's very truthful about it.
Yeah. Well, in case you haven't picked up, even though we mentioned it multiple times, we're talking about the Pixar classic, The Incredibles. And that is all about former co-workers turned husband and wife who are trying to live a quiet life in the suburbs, but are forced to face their past lives when a new nemesis appears and forces them to return to their old ways in hopes to save their family and the world as they know it. And The Incredibles, I'm sorry.
Was that you or somewhere else? Did you write
that? Was all me.
That was, man, you're good at this. We can
it's a compliment if you think it's Rotten Tomatoes and it's him. And then if it is Rotten Tomatoes, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was purposely trying to write this intro that if you didn't know what the movie was, it made you think to try to decipher what the movie was.
Oh,
I
okay.
see. Where people may not think it's actually an animated movie.
Or yeah. It was directed and written by Brad Bird, who has become well known in the Pixar universe. He also directed The Iron Giant, Ratatouille, and oddly enough, Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol.
Hell yeah.
Famous Pixar flick.
Very famous.
Well,
he's also, I think, isn't he the voice of Edna?
He is. I was going to get to that here.
Sorry.
But we're going to talk about who's starring in the film, and that's one Mr. Incredible, Craig T. Nelson.
Yeah, Coach.
Who I couldn't see anybody else voicing this role.
No.
But him, Holly Hunter plays Elastigirl, aka Mrs. Incredible.
I love her.
Excuse me.
I love her.
We'll get into other reasons why a lot of people love Elastigirl.
Okay. All right.
Samuel L. Jackson is Frozone. You have Jason Lee, who I really didn't know Jason Lee was a voice in this film until doing research. No matter how many times I've seen The Incredibles, but he does the voice of Syndrome, aka Buddy. And then, as mentioned, Brad Bird does Edna E. Mode.
I didn't catch Jason Lee in the film.
I didn't either.
Oh, but I could recognize Syndrome's voice. I'm like, it's something familiar.
I instantly remembered him being a voice as soon as I heard him, and then I thought, what's he up to now?
What is he up to now?
I don't know.
Man, collecting those "My Name Is Earl"
I guess
syndication money.
I guess
syndication money,
and maybe still skateboarding. I don't know. I haven't seen. I think he was in one of the Kevin Smith's movies here recently, though.
Well, he's been in like all Kevin Smith.
No,
movies,
the newest
basically.
one. What is it? The 413 movie or something that came out.
I didn't see that one.
I watched it. I think it was streaming somewhere, but I think he does have a small part in it. But yeah, okay. Maybe he'll do another Chipmunks movie.
Maybe.
Did you
can't have enough of those?
Yeah.
Did you like those?
No.
Oh, I never saw them.
I didn't either.
I knew better.
The first one was kind of cool because it was like simple and it was just like kind of what you remember from the cartoons. By the time they go to some road trip thing and then a chip wrecked and some other crap.
Yeah. I grew up enjoying the Chipmunks as well as the Smurfs and Garfield, but I never needed live action versions of those films by any means.
You didn't need a Bill Murray Garfield?
And I didn't need a Jennifer Love Hewitt Garfield-led film either.
No, man, no.
How many Garfield movies are there? Because didn't Chris Pratt just do one?
I think there's 3. There's the 2 that Bill Murray did, who he thought one of the Coen brothers wrote, and it wasn't that Coen. Yeah. And then there's the Chris Pratt one, which is fully animed. Yeah. And that one's not good either. Man, but what I didn't know is Nicholas Hoult voiced Garfield's owner guy. I didn't know that.
John.
How about that? Yeah. How about that?
Can we talk about Garfield for a little bit? Do y'all mind?
Well, I don't have a drink for Garfield, but I do have one for The Incredibles. And that drink is called just that, Mr. Incredible. You take 1 1/4 ounces of Crown Royal with 1 1/4 ounces of your energy drink of choice, Monster, Red Bull, whatever it is you would like. You're going to fill a highball glass with ice, pour the Crown and the energy drink over the ice, and then top it off with your dark soda of choice, Coke, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, what have you. And there is your Mr. Incredible. A simple drink. Most of those ingredients you have at home. So real simple to make to follow along with this episode of Drinking With.
Sounds delightful.
Yeah.
And you said your choice of energy drink.
Yeah.
So mine would be Yoo-Hoo. Do you think it would still?
I don't know if that's
quite taste good.
I don't know what kind of energy you're getting off of Yoo-Hoo. You could go
You're
if
right,
you're a fan
Governor.
of Tropic Thunder. You could even get some booty juice
Oh,
to pour into your Mr. Incredible.
Oh,
That's true. Yeah, I do.
Can't wait till that turns 21.
I do love some Crown and Coke.
yeah.
Adding some maybe Red Bull to it. That's some go-go juice right there.
Right there.
Have you ever had?
Go gadget.
Have you guys ever had the vanilla Crown Royal?
Yeah.
That's
No.
good.
I like
That's
I like the vanilla Crown. I love the maple Crown.
Maple.
And
Apple's okay.
I'm a fan of the apple. I
Yeah.
haven't had the peach yet.
No, but that I like the what was maple. I like that maple.
I might pick some up from the liquor store today. I might make this drink tonight.
Drink one of these.
Drink one of these at 9 o'clock at night
with you
when I'm trying to wind down for the evening and just explode my heart.
I don't know. You might fall asleep.
Yeah, it's true.
Forever.
What a way to go.
Let's move along and talk about all things financial. What do we believe the budget for The Incredibles is? I mean, think about it. You really just need like a pad and some crayons to get this film done.
Yeah. Let's see.
I'm gonna go. Oh man, I don't know. I feel like these Pixar movies are pretty expensive. I mean, I'm reading a book now from one of the guys that started Pixar, and it's a really fascinating look at like the filmmaking process and the idea of not how corporate culture, business culture can kind of snuff out the flames of creativity.
Yeah.
And how they do a really good job of that at Pixar, of not allowing that to happen.
Yeah.
But he doesn't talk about money. He just says everything's pretty costly. It can be pretty costly if a film doesn't get going. I'm going to say...
I feel like it has to be over 100 million and under 200 million is what I think.
I was going to say 85.
You think so? Oh, no.
85.
I'll say one... I'm gonna say 140.
140 and 85. Brandon, you are nowhere close.
Dang.
It's actually 92 million. So Stoney just 7 million off there. It did take 3 years for this film to be completed from start to finish.
Yeah.
So I can see where the cost starts to add up over time. Now, continuing with the financial aspect of it, opening weekend, U.S. Canada. This film opened November 5th of 2004. It opened on 3,900 screens and was one of two major releases that week: The Incredibles and Fade to Black, which I have no idea what that is, so I can't help you.
That is either.
No.
But it got a wide release.
I don't think it was in 3,900 screens, but it was nationally released.
I just know, isn't that the Amy Winehouse?
Amy was still with us in 2004.
Oh, that was the documentary for Jay-Z.
Oh.
Documentary film about the career of American rapper Jay-Z. I never saw that.
I don't even think I remember it at all.
I can't say I do either.
Oh.
No wonder it didn't beat out The Incredibles at the box office that week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought maybe they put the funeral of Johnny Cash on the big screen and maybe it was Fade to Black.
I think Johnny Cash was still with us in 2004 as well.
Well, physically maybe.
Yeah.
He was hurting.
That's Good one. I mean, I know it made a lot of money, but what's a lot of money in 2004?
I'm gonna say 75.
You're probably.
That feels a little steep, but it's November.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 55.
It's a kids movie.
Yeah, families are going. I'm probably too low, but I'll stick with 55. Why not? I was so good at 140 million, so
yeah.
With it.
55 and 75. You corrected way too much, Brandon. Incredibles opened at $70.5 million opening weekend.
I've been close on both fronts today.
You have.
Yeah.
Game.
But in fact, if for Price is Right, I would have won.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. On this one, not the first one. But anyway, in fact, The Incredibles made more than the 19 other films in the top 20 combined that weekend.
Holy shit.
Oh my God. Well, if the number 2 was a Jay-Z documentary, then I'm going to say the rest were
the Jay-Z documentary was not number 2. I don't even think it cracked the top 10.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Oh, you just said it was the only other like big release. Okay.
Big release, yeah. The opening weekend haul for The Incredibles was the second highest opening for an animated film at the time, behind
If I remember.
2004's Shrek 2.
Oh,
Oh.
Shrek 2. I remember one of the Shrek sequels just randomly going off and just being a massive success. Like they
I
were
think a
all
lot of people like the
financial.
second one a lot.
Yeah, they were all
Yeah.
financial successes, but I couldn't remember if it was the second or the third that was just like popped off and just
I think
became one of the highest grossing of all time.
I think Shrek 2, I think was the big one. Then I think Shrek the third ended up starting what would okay.
Here we go. Here's
Now
we're on the other
out,
side of the
yeah.
mountain heading back down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never really cared for Shrek as a whole, so
I
doesn't hurt my
love
feelings any.
the first two are fine. I like the first one a lot. And they're making a new one, so we'll see.
Oh God. I don't know that I even saw, I think I've only seen the first three, and I do concur that the third one was enough for me to be like, okay, I get where this is
then
going.
what is it? Shrek Forever After is the last
Yeah,
one with babies.
I thought they did
Is
a
Shrek
fifth one.
3 is Shrek 3 the one with Timberlake?
I can't remember.
And the fairy godmother.
I have no idea.
I think they may have been a part of that fourth one.
Oh, okay.
I think. But yeah,
Well,
there's a 5 is coming, and apparently like Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, Cameron Diaz, they'll all be back.
That's a tough one though when you frame this within 2004. Like, what's The Incredibles or Shrek 2? What's the better animated feature that year?
That's an easy answer. It's The Incredibles.
Yeah, I would now knowing what I know now, I would say Pixar was on top.
It's unanimous then. Maybe it's not an interesting question.
Yeah. Don't ask again.
We're just all three like, The Incredibles.
Yeah, I'll take it from here now.
Yeah.
Total U.S. Canada box office, The Incredibles have brought in over $261 million, and then total worldwide $631,700,000.
So
that's
my question is, how come Craig T. Nelson wasn't headlining movies?
That's good. It's
right.
Good. Well, his face wasn't in it.
Exactly.
And that's people see his face and they're like,
"Ooh, no, thank
get you back in the shadows,
no,
buddy."
Thank you. But
that's
will
why
you be a dad in these movies like The Proposal and The Family Stone?
Yeah.
And then you can be on TV as the dad on Parenthood for 5 years. So the UK was the highest grossing country outside the US with 62 million. And then our friends in Japan brought in 50 million, and France 41 million. So that's a good chunk of that worldwide budget. I mean, haul from just 3 countries there. But our friends in Serbia,
I thought it was going to be Bulgaria or Belgium.
Patience, Grasshopper. Serbia brought in an astounding $17,361.
They probably got 2 theaters. That's probably a lot.
Yeah.
What do you think that experience is like in Serbia on the weekend? You're like, I'm going to go to the cinema to see some American flicks.
To see The Incredibles. That's what
Incredibles. Yeah.
I don't know what that experience is like. I feel like that would be odd.
I do too.
Yeah. And then Bulgaria brought in $45,759.
There they are.
There's the Bulgarians.
So they packed the house in Bulgaria
they did.
For The Incredibles.
I wonder if they dress up and stuff too. You think
they cosplay?
Yeah, like do you think like people came in as Mr. Incredible or Jack?
Possible.
That's what we should
definitely Edna.
Definitely Edna.
Yeah, I was Edna. Can I say I didn't really appreciate Edna my first round watching.
Oh, I did.
But I did the second round.
Yeah, for sure.
Me and my wife's trip to Disneyland last March was highlighted by actually seeing Edna in the wild, because it's rare you see some of the like minor characters hovering around the park, running around the parks. But seeing Edna was a big thrill.
Did you get a picture?
I sadly did not. She was kind of like, it was those deals where like the character can only be out so long before you have to take them in because of the heat and whatnot, and kind of saw it was more in passing sighting.
I was hoping maybe it was like where like the costume, like half of it was open. They're like smoking a cigarette. And...
Well, there is the famous video online of at Disney World where Elastigirl's face comes off during a dance party.
Oh.
and all the other
Oh,
characters have to
no.
shoo her off stage.
Oh no, that's a worst case scenario there.
It is.
Oh my god, that's like pulling off Rey Mysterio's mask. Oh
It is.
Jesus!
And The Incredibles was also the best-selling DVD of 2005 with over 17 million copies sold.
A quick question, and what's a DVD?
It is a device that people our age
Hmm.
and older
Hmm.
used to watch films back in the early 2000s.
Oh, I see.
This is one, just speaking of physical media, I don't have The Incredibles in my collection,
don't
but
either.
I think I would like to add it. I think I'd like to
I have
add
it.
I kind of thought about that now seeing it. I'm like, maybe I will try and get that one.
I can tell you that mine is 20 years old, so I'm happy to have it. All right. So we've all established that the three of us enjoyed The Incredibles. Maybe not all of us on the first watch, as Brandon mentioned, but what do we think the Rotten Tomatoes scores from the media and the regular viewer was for The Incredibles?
No,
Starting with the tomato meter.
I'm going to say 93.
90. See, I feel like it's lower. I feel like this is.
I don't know why, but I feel like it's either just right up there with Finding Nemo or even better. Like I remember it being a real critical success too.
I'm gonna go with 84.
So with 252 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter is 97%.
Whoa!
I thought it was on up there.
It's a heater.
It is super fresh.
Yeah.
Heater.
Yeah.
So I actually noted a couple of lines from a couple of reviews. One is coming from Jessica Winter at the Village Voice, and she wrote, "The Incredibles announces the studio's arrival in the vast yet overcrowded Hollywood lot of eardrum bashing, metal crunching action sludge."
Yeah.
So
Whew.
she is one who did not care for The Incredibles as much.
I think she might have missed the point of the film too.
Boy.
And then lastly, we have Eleanor Carter of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. She wrote, Brad Bird and the Pixar whizzes do what they do excellently. You just wish they were doing something else.
Man, why?
Some fire shot at
That was
Brad
Atlanta,
Bird.
but that was at Atlanta Constitution, so I kind of feel like they don't like fun.
Yeah, it's an esteemed journalist.
So they like what they do, they just don't want them to do this.
Basically.
Huh.
Yeah. Well,
or they say they're good at doing it, they just don't want them to do it.
That's why I felt like I remember there's like a vague memory in the back of my head that's like critics didn't like that they did superheroes. It's like, oh, like everybody wants the superheroes now. Try something different. Try something.
But in all fairness, was superheroes that big of a deal in 2004?
Well, I mean, it was like
you had Spider-Man.
You had Spider-Man.
Blade Trinity.
I think you had Spider-Man 2 in 2004. You had Hulk. You had Daredevil. They're coming out with a Fantastic Four the next year.
We had Iron Man.
No, that's 2008.
Yeah, that was 2008.
It feels like so much longer.
So was the Incredible. That's when the MCU. That's when people started.
Yeah.
But I want to think Ang Lee's Hulk came out maybe a year or so before. Okay.
Daredevil was earlier in 2004.
Now, okay, I realized they didn't make good ones.
Yeah.
So the Incredibles came in and said, "Watch this."
Yeah. People were like, "Oh, they're just going to do superheroes now.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing."
Oh, I see. You go from something so incredibly unique like fish, and you want to do a superhero movie, do you? You dicks.
Yeah.
So with that 90% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, this is the best reviewed superhero movie ever made, tied with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
That's hilarious.
Both,
to me.
I love it.
Both sitting at 97%.
Both animated.
Now that's what the media thought. What did the average Joe think about The Incredibles on Rotten Tomatoes?
I'm going to say 94.
I was going to say 95. So
94, 95. You both overshot this one. After 250,000 plus reviews, their rating sits at 75%.
Maybe I'm just getting it twisted then. Maybe it's
the people.
The people that were like, we don't want more superheroes.
Don't give us this.
Yeah.
Who's Craig T. Nelson?
Ben Affleck's Daredevil ruined it for fucking everybody.
Now, one of our favorite things to do is deep dive Letterbox
Yeah.
and look up reviews from viewers around the world. Got a couple here for us. Sophie, who gave it 4.5 stars, wrote, "If Dash had been an Avengers Age of Ultron instead of Quicksilver, then I bet it would have a higher Rotten Tomato score."
I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah. And then Nico Pico, he gave The Incredibles 5 stars and says they knew exactly what they were doing with Elastigirl.
It's crazy.
She's drawn different.
It's crazy to look back at it and be like, why? Like, there are a couple of times in this film that I thought, this is too horny for a kids movie.
Yeah, you have to serve adults too. That's the beauty of Pixar.
I guess so. I'm like, I don't know. I guess children just aren't picking up on this. But like that scene
probably not
at the beginning when they run into each other and they're acting like they're, strangers and all that.
Yep.
I'm like, this is we're getting a little handsy here. Like, this is.
But it's nice to know it ended up being her husband.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
They kept it
but that didn't.
that
didn't stop me. That didn't stop me or other people thinking like, Elastigirl could get it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, did they draw Elastigirl like we're going to appeal to the dads who love cartoon moms with big bottoms?
Do you think that the people in charge of that character just sat around with boners the whole time at the Pixar office? And I'm not talking about like no pants, no anything. Just sat around with their dicks out, being like, this is going to do the trick for anybody, for any male over the age of whatever.
I just imagine them drawing her up and being like, man, the dads in the theater taking their kids to see this are going to start hooting and hollering. This is
the kids are going to have to calm them down.
Yeah. It was Jessica Rabbit for a whole new generation.
Amen to that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Let me bring it down a little bit.
Okay.
We're getting a little too horny here. Let's rein it in. Lauren gave it 3 stars on Letterboxd and asked a simple question: why was there a suicide attempt in this film?
I made a note of that. Because there are some really dark things in this movie too, because Mr. Incredible gets sued by the guy who's trying to jump off a building to kill himself.
Oh yeah, and he said he didn't need
it.
Yeah, and he didn't. Okay, I was going to say, I was thinking of something like, did Mr. Incredible take the blade to his wrist? When was that?
Like, you think about some of the themes in the film. It's like, going to work every day for a boss that you hate. It paints family life in a way that, maybe I didn't pick up on it at the time, but it's like soul crushing, like routine stuff, the stress that it puts between a husband and a wife.
I was going to say the effects it has at home.
Yeah.
Is as well, especially when you were kind of born to be this, and then all of a sudden you're told you can't.
Yeah. And it's kind of heavy. It's kind of heavy. And then a guy tries to jump off a fucking building and kill himself.
I was thinking that there was a lot of similarities on the things you see, like especially like with sports, where you're playing at such a high level, then one day you retire, and then what do you do? Mm-hmm. On top of, like you said, just kind of now being at a 9 to 5, you're mind numbing.
Like, you watch it as an adult and you're like, man, I really empathize with Mr. Incredible here.
Yeah.
But as a kid, you're probably watching it thinking, oh, that's just everybody's dad.
And then you're like,
that's my dad,
then then you're like, well, at least he's going home to that stretchy big ass woman. Could be worse.
Her reach around game is strong.
Oh boy.
Shall we move on?
Yeah. Probably should.
Jack Mouton on Letterboxd gave it 4.5 stars and quickly says the MCU has been chasing this high and has never come close.
Oh,
shots fired.
Yeah. So
I think they landed.
He's a late comer to this too. I see. Which I guess Letterboxd wasn't around in 2004 anyway, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess. I think he's kind of dissing on I mean, Marvel was doing stuff right for quite a while. I mean, a decade, give or take, for a decade. Now, granted, since then, sure.
We haven't shot fish in a barrel since.
Yeah, okay.
But lastly, Hamish, who gave it 5
Now
stars,
we're talking.
says, I mean, this is literally the greatest Fantastic Four movie that will ever be made.
It's hard to argue with that so far.
Right now, yeah. As
it's
of right
hard.
now, that's very true, and I would sign off on that.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's talk awards before we get into the fun facts of the film. This film was nominated for 4 Oscars and took home 2 trophies, including sound editing and best animated feature film. And it is also the first Pixar movie to win an Academy Award for a category other than best animated feature since Monsters Inc. in 2001, where it won best original song. So yeah,
What did
4 noms, 2 wins. That's pretty good.
So the sound editing, is that what you said?
Sound editing and animated feature.
Yeah.
And Monsters Inc. won original song and
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I mean, like the sound editing in this film is fantastic.
Yeah. It's incredible.
It's incredible. Yeah. But
it's Oscar worthy.
It does sound like an action flick.
Oh yeah. They don't hold back just because it's an animated movie.
I'm curious.
There's a lot of good stuff in there.
I'm curious, McCash, do you know what else was in the best animated feature category that year?
I could figure that out real quick.
Shrek
I got
2.
nothing else to do.
I
would imagine.
I'll effort it as the producer while you guys
Okay.
move the show along.
How
about
about
that?
chat? I can do that.
Shrek 2, Howl's Moving Castle.
Is that real?
I think you're just making shit up.
That's a real movie. It wasn't nominated for the 2004 Oscars, but that's a real movie.
I've actually got it. There were only 3 nominees that year.
Oh, that is true. They didn't nominate that many.
The Incredibles, Shrek 2, which we've already talked about.
Yep.
Any guesses at the third one? What would have been?
How to Train a Dragon.
Is it a DreamWorks one?
I do believe it is a Dream. Yep, it is DreamWorks. So
I don't think it's. Is it a Madagascar movie?
Kind of fell through the cracks early on in the DreamWorks.
Shark Tale.
Oh.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Look at you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anybody know what the original title was for The Incredibles? And it was not Shark Tale.
Rise of Syndrome.
All in the Family.
That's a good guess, but no. It's simply The Invincibles. Yeah, I'm sorry, that was a little lackluster there. Yeah. Brad Bird got the idea for this movie in the early 90s, basing the story on his own experience trying to balance a career with having a family as well.
Damn.
And
was he a superhero?
Yeah. Well, Brad Bird is a superhero. We all know this.
Yeah.
You saw Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol.
I did.
That's basically a documentary of his life.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah.
Good for Tom Cruise taking on that role.
Yeah.
Of Brad Bird.
Yeah. I could say I did not pick up on this or notice it, but this is the first Pixar film that is set through a human's perspective. The other previous movies were through a toy, animals, and monsters' perspectives, respectively.
Oh yeah, that is true. I guess the first kind of human. I wish. Do you ever think like, wouldn't this be a cool live action Pixar movie?
Yeah, why aren't they doing a live action Incredibles?
But I want the same people. I want the exact same people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think the guy who did Jack's like 40 now, so I don't know how that's going to look in a diaper.
I'm fine with it.
Jack's low key my favorite.
Thank God Jason Lee can come back.
Well, yeah, you can get that Jason
payday.
Lee. Yeah.
And Craig T. Nelson, I'll believe it.
I don't think Helen Hunt could fit and fill Elastigirl's pants, though.
You are right, but Helen Hunt is not in this.
Holly Hunter, excuse me.
Don't confuse those two. How dare you?
Get a Helen
Holly
Hunt.
Holly Hunter. I feel like I just saw her in something. But anyway, she's an Oscar winner. I like her. She's been in quite a few things that I think people of a certain age would know. I don't think anybody from The Incredibles on, I don't think anybody would know her, but she was a good get for Pixar. Kind of a, acclaimed actress. Craig T. Nelson, I think his voice especially is very noticeable. And then I guess Jason Lee was, he was fun back then. Yeah. And I thought he did a good job, by the way. I thought he did a good job playing that villain, kind of the guy that just wanted to help and, kind of got pushed aside.
He did such a good job. I didn't know who he was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is the first Pixar film to receive a PG rating, as all previous releases were G rated.
Oh,
I didn't know that as well.
Well, a
Got
guy's
some
jumping off the
violence.
fucking building. That's why.
Yeah.
Let's
Committing
put a P there.
Let's be honest. It was that fucking fat ass that got that PG rating.
People saw that and were like, "Listen,
Oh, that ain't G.
we gotta,
That ain't
we gotta
G.
put the P on this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll put the P in it.
Oh, that's too
That's
far.
fat PHAT.
Yeah.
That's where that G comes from.
We're out of control.
Yeah, we are. I'm going to try to reel it in. Let's talk a little casting for a second. Brad Bird, writer and director of The Incredibles, was listening to Public Radio International and heard Sarah Val's voice, who is a frequent contributor to the Public Radio International program, This American Life. And he felt her voice was so perfect for Violet, even though she had never acted it before. And to convince her, Pixar animators animated one of her segments from the show and sent it to her to convince her to take on the role.
That's cool.
We need that on
I
like
want
the
them to
bonus
do it.
features of the DVD.
I want them to send it to us.
Can
Yeah.
they do
With
us?
us, yeah.
Yeah. Somebody hears our voices one day and they're like,
Say,
we need
"Hey,
to make these guys.
I know you've never acted before, but
Speak for yourself. I was in a lot of movies.
well,
That's
I
true.
was in a video where we did a Shark Tank.
A Shark Tank parody that
Yeah.
can never see
Can
the
never
light of
see the
day.
light of day, but
Never
yeah.
see the light of day.
We need to watch that again because I don't know. I want to know how bad it really is.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
days,
bad in general. Like, it doesn't look good. We don't know what we're doing. Like, it's bad anyway.
but these days we could get away with it.
That's true. If you wait long enough,
Yeah,
that's a good point.
So you bring up a fun topic. If Brad Bird was to listen to this and be like, "Hey, I need these guys," what roles do you think what kind of character would each of us have in a future Brad Bird Pixar film?
Oh man, that's
okay.
that's a
Not an
tough one.
Incredibles one, just a Pixar character in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I that's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
I feel like I would be a gentle grizzly bear, maybe.
Yeah. If I go from the human form, I feel like a sleazy magician.
Yeah, that works.
Sleazy magician.
That works.
Or if you were a superhero, you'd be Flatulent Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I think Howard Stern's already got that one. Fart Man.
Yeah,
Fart,
true.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about Fart Man.
Yeah. Don't forget about him.
Might hear from the attorneys on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. My bad.
But a sleazy magician. And you're a grizzly bear.
A gentle grizzly bear.
Okay, and McCash?
I'm really not sure.
It's a hard question.
It is.
It is a hard question. Just on the spot, I didn't think about that one, even though I came up with it.
Yeah, you just asked us, bud.
I wasn't prepared to answer my own question, damn it.
All right. Well, think about it.
So
think
if you were to
about it
watch,
and answer it 2 episodes from now.
Yeah. When we get to like Saw in October, I'll come up with an idea. But if you were to watch this film in Singapore, the company Insuricare that Mr. Incredible works for at the beginning of the film, and you were to literally translate it in Chinese characters, it would translate to Black-Hearted Insurance Company.
Yeah, well.
Fair.
Yeah. I was happy when he chucked that motherfucker through all them walls.
Me too. Yeah. And I'm glad he helped that one woman.
Yeah, me
Bless
too.
Her heart.
Me too. He really was a hero through and through.
He was.
She probably died like the next week or whatever, so it didn't really help much.
Probably died when Jason's Lee character plowed through the city. I'm sure she couldn't get out of the way. But besides that.
In the whole movie, you can see 35 explosions, 189 buttons being pressed, and then approximately 640 gunshots.
That's your PG.
Yeah, they're firing guns. Guys are jumping off buildings.
And don't forget about that fat ass.
Don't forget about that fat ass. Yeah. I mean, he choked his boss.
Yeah.
Hand around his throat. Was like
I said, it's very relevant now.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
So we mentioned Marvel, but DC Comics was actually involved in this film as well, because they objected to the name Elastigirl due to a character they already have named Elastigirl. So a compromise was met where outside of the film, promotional materials, etc., Elastigirl would be known simply as Mrs. Incredible going forward.
No, that's a fair deal.
It is a fair deal.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was such a thing. I know, like, obviously, you talk about the Fantastic Four, like the powers are obviously very, similar, but I didn't realize that there was an actual Elastic Girl in DC. What was that? Was she a part of some gang too?
There's
Probably
one of the ancillary characters.
Yeah. So basically, DC really, no one would have even thought, oh my
think
God,
so.
that's a DC character.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
somebody like comic book guy on The Simpsons would
Well, now
notice
that's
that.
true. Someone would throw a hissy fit.
Yeah. But somebody, today in today's world, hissy fits are thrown all around Hollywood
That's true.
because of nepotism.
That's true.
Yeah.
And there's nepotism in this film as well as another Pixar film we've already reviewed. Writer and director Brad Bird's son Nicholas is the voice of the little boy on the tricycle at the beginning of the film that Mr. Incredible asks what he's waiting for, and he's like, I don't know, something incredible, or whatever his line is.
Yeah.
So was voiced by his son Nicholas, who also voiced Squirt the baby turtle in Finding Nemo.
Nepotism. Running wild.
Wow.
At its finest.
Wow.
Yep.
Couldn't find a regular kid you didn't know.
Yeah, or a 40-year-old man who could do the voice.
Exactly. The people at The Simpsons have been doing it for decades.
Yeah.
You don't think Hank Azaria could have been a baby turtle?
Yeah. I mean, raising points.
I like Brad Bird, but now he's a dick.
Yeah.
How old's his son now? He's a dick too.
Probably 30. No, he's got to be older than that now, I'd imagine.
Probably
Anyway.
our age.
To my knowledge, this is still the first and thus far only Pixar movie not to feature a distinct appearance of the Pizza Planet truck.
Really?
Yep.
And sorry, go ahead.
I was going to continue with, while making the movie, Brad Bird, who at the time was not familiar with the tradition of Pixar Easter eggs, hadn't been thinking about the truck and was unsure if the animators had snuck it into the film or not. And yeah, that's really all I got.
Yeah. Damn. So he wasn't aware of it and then didn't know if someone else did it without him knowing.
Yeah.
Couldn't keep the bit going.
Wow. Also, was John Ratzenberger, did he do a voice in this?
He did.
He was the underminer
at the end.
Oh. Okay. All right. Thank God.
So that streak continued.
By the way, looked like a pretty cool villain.
Yeah.
Does he come back for the sequel?
I don't think so.
Yeah, he starts off doesn't Underminer start off the sequel?
Oh yeah, maybe it does pick. Yeah, I think he is at the beginning. I haven't seen that one since it came out, but
I'm gonna watch that one this weekend because I've never seen it.
That's a good one too. I actually up to this point I thought the sequel was better than the original, but now this has really just caused a lot of chaos in my life.
Here's a little trivia question.
Okay.
Involving Star Wars and The Incredibles. What two voice actors in The Incredibles were also featured in the Star Wars universe films?
Oh God,
I got no idea.
I don't know. Is Holly Hunter in it?
I don't watch Star Wars, so
I don't watch the shows, especially. I've only seen the movies.
Well, not necessarily show. I'm talking the movies as well. The whole universe of Star Wars
that are also in this one.
That are also voice characters in this film.
Jason Lee.
Do it.
I don't know.
I feel like they're going to be ones that they're probably not the main cast.
It's not Craig T. Nelson in Star Wars.
I don't think so. Go ahead. We're at a loss over here.
Well, one of them's very obvious, and that's Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I could have eventually gotten there.
Did he voice the black guy in this?
Yeah, Frozone. We mentioned that earlier at the beginning of the show. Thank you for playing along.
Thanks.
And then John Ratzenberger was in Empire Strikes Back.
I had no idea.
Me neither. I almost said him just because you brought it up right when I said Ratzenberger, but I'm like, I do not remember.
I couldn't tell you who he was. He played a character named Rebel Force Major Derlin.
That must have been a quick.
Yeah. He probably didn't even get an action figure, and everybody got an action figure back then.
Probably like slapped Chewbacca on his ass, and that was it. But I should have known Samuel Jackson. Dead gummit.
That was the easy one. The unusual angular architecture in the film was based on a distinctive style of the 1950s space age futurism known as Googie, often seen in like I originally thought it said Google, but I was like, oh, that's an I, not an L. That style is often seen in coffee shops, bowling alleys, and many contemporary homes of the era. And then tiki architecture, another 50s pop style, and often considered a form of googie, is also exemplified in many of the island sets in the film. So the architecture in the film, granted being animated, I thought was a big piece of the film that I really enjoyed.
I did like a lot of what I guess would be the production design and animation of it and
Yeah.
everything. They did a nice job because there is a lot of like retro elements to it, even though I mean I think it was like present day, but I did like the
it's never said when this film is based, but it has a retro but still modern feel to it.
Yeah. I think that's
the scene where like he beats everybody up in the camper.
Oh yeah.
When they show it from the outside and like how reflective it looks, like it genuinely looks like a real car sitting under a shop light or something like that.
Pixar's
they're good at what they do. And this was 2004. This is 21 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, they're it's amazing. Now I will say I feel like DreamWorks and them, some of them have caught up with them. We're talking about How to Train Your Dragon was mentioned earlier.
Oh
here.
yeah.
But I mean, they've caught up as far as that, but man, nobody really does it like Pixar. And like you said, I mean, you're talking like 2003 with Finding Nemo and 2004 with the I almost called it the Invincibles, the Incredibles. I mean, that's a hell of a feat.
Yeah. So we'll talk about Pixar. Brad Bird's original thought was this would be a cell animated film when he pitched it, and the cell animated sequences seen in the end credits are a representation of that original concept he had.
Oh, so that was like when he first kind of came up with it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Well, he came up with the idea back in the 90s, and really
yeah.
this technology obviously didn't exist at that time.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, you
and
had
in
Toy
the
Story.
original, what's that? Oh, yeah, but I don't know what time in the 90s he came up with this idea, but it was,
in all fairness, that Pixar couldn't have done whatever kind of thing he was thinking if he wanted the Incredibles to look like that in the 90s. There's no way. So
no.
he waited. He was a patient man. But I mean, remember, he was a superhero and also had a family.
Sure.
So you can't just drop it just to do a movie.
I mean, the Iron Giant is basically a biopic of his life. So
yeah, God, he does a
wrote
lot
and
of
directed.
biopics.
Yeah. In the original script for The Incredibles, Syndrome, aka Buddy, only appeared in the opening scene. And when the Pixar animators responded much more strongly to him than the original main villain named Xerex, he was moved to that role. And you can see that original scene in the DVD features or on Disney Plus, where you see Syndrome hunt down Mr. Incredible at his home and then tries to capture him and Elastigirl. And then he eventually hears the cries of Jack Jack down the hall and attempts to capture him as well before being thwarted by the Incredibles.
That feels pretty intense too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did they ever show the original monster?
That I don't know.
I
don't know whatever became of him.
Or the villain.
But his name is very similar to that evil robot or toy in Toy Story.
That's what, when you said that, I'm
Zord?
like, well, wait, yeah, I was going to say, well, wait a minute, wasn't that a villain already? But that's what I was thinking of, the Toy Story robot.
Yep. Oh, so in the beginning of the film, of what we got, when a robber is going through a woman's purse on the roof of a building, a Mr. Incredible Pez dispenser can be seen among the items scattered on the ground.
No shit.
Fun fact.
Yeah. I would
little Easter egg there.
I would have dug a Mr. Incredible Pez dispenser back in the day. I used to collect those things.
Yeah, I remember you buying some.
Yeah.
I think the Elastigirl one, the Pez came out the back end.
Oh,
nice.
That's dirty.
No.
Yeah. It was chocolate flavored Pez.
Jesus. we always find a way to go. We
one step too far.
Approach the line and then step right over it.
Pixar's chief creative officer at the time, John Lasseter, tried to coax Brad Bird to come join him in '95 when Pixar was working on A Bug's Life that was released in '98. Bird declined, but when he left 20th Century Fox, Lasseter asked him again, but Bird turned him down again
Damn.
as he was under contract with Warner Brothers to make The Iron Giant. However, when Warner Brothers failed to properly promote the film, Bird said, "Fuck you guys, I'm out," and joined Pixar.
Damn.
Lasseter only had one request for his friend, and that was to make the film he'd been dying to make. And as Bird had been sitting on the idea of The Incredibles for some time now, over a decade, this was his natural choice as his first film with Pixar.
Isn't it crazy how things work out like that? But I mean, I kind of remember like the Iron Giant to me, didn't really have a lot of hype when we were kids.
No, I
No,
kind
but it was a great film.
yeah,
It's a great
it's
film,
really
yeah,
good, but
for sure.
it is a forgotten one, to be honest. I mean,
But
in the midst of
yeah,
Lion King, all these other ones that came out, that
mhm. But to
it's gotten
think
more credit now, obviously, but
like just how stars align and just thinking like if the idea for the story in the 90s, if the film was actually made in the 90s, how different it probably would be.
yeah,
Like it really feels like this story was better served by waiting until the technology had kind of caught up
yeah.
so that
Yeah.
they could do this film the way that they ultimately did it. I don't know that it plays the same without like the really good sound editing, the good animation, the style, all that
No,
stuff.
I mean, and
Badass.
I like the hand drawn stuff, but
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think it wouldn't have accomplished what it did if it didn't have kind of that Pixar tech and money
agreed.
behind it. But
Yep.
there's so many stories it's fascinating on like, yeah, you know what? I wrote this script in '88 and couldn't get funding, and then it ends up being like Gladiator that someone made in
Yeah,
2000 or
yeah.
in the late '90s. So I mean, it's crazy how that kind of works out. But yeah, it was. I mean, it was Pixar's gain. Everyone else's loss because
Yep.
this was only the beginning for old Bird
Ain't that the truth?
and
We're
his
just
son.
we're just getting started.
One of the awesome gets for this film was the casting of Samuel L. Jackson, and he was casted as the voice of Frozone because Brad Bird wanted the character to have the coolest voice possible,
Mm,
Yeah,
and it really doesn't get much cooler than Samuel L. Jackson.
that's
yeah,
true.
that's true. That's why he's made a
Yep.
lot of money.
Yep. Somebody who's made a bit of money, but maybe not a lot of money compared to Samuel L. Jackson is obviously Jason Lee. And Jason Lee was cast as Syndrome on the strength of his performance as Azrael in Kevin Smith's Dogma.
How about that?
Nice,
What
Yeah.
a nice little connection.
nice.
Yeah. Would never connect Dogma into getting somebody else a Pixar job.
No, absolutely not. But here we
Yep.
are.
Yep. In fact, Jason Lee recorded all of his lines in 4 days, while Craig T. Nelson's time recording his lines spanned over 2 years.
Oh my God.
Damn.
Well, he was
Yeah.
older.
He was older,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he's also the star, so he had more lines to
I was going to say
as
also,
well.
I have a feeling there's probably more to it, but
Yeah. When Buddy, Jason Lee, first enters Mr. Incredible's car, Mr. Incredible stutters over the boy's name, first landing on Brody. Brody just happened to be the character that Jason Lee played in several Kevin Smith movies, most knownly Mallrats
Oh, I didn't even
and Chasing Amy.
I never put that together. But yeah, that's
Yep.
I didn't put that together.
is that a Jason Lee Easter egg
I
in The
guess so.
Incredibles?
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. They didn't want to put that Pizza Planet truck in there, but they had time to do shit like this.
I mean, I didn't know Kevin Smith's had the 8 degrees of separation or whatever it's
With
fucking
Kevin
called.
Bacon.
Yeah, Kevin Bacon. Yeah. Among the superheroes shown listed in the Chronos database are Universal Man, Psychwave, Everseer, Macro Burst, Phalange, whatever the fuck that is, Blaze Stone, Downburst, Hypershock, Blister Man, Trade Wind, Gazer Beam, Stormicide, Gamma Jack, and then our 3 Incredibles, Mr., Mrs., and Frozone.
I caught Gazer Beam in the is the dead skeleton in the mountain, and I thought, what is what is that? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, are any of those supposed to mean something?
They're just random superheroes that didn't make the cut, I guess.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
I'm shocked there's not stuff in there. I think it'd been fun just to see like Sully and Woody for no reason.
Yeah. Well, something you do see towards the end of the film in that final battle with the Omni Droid, Doc Hudson from Cars is seen in the driveway. As
Oh my
Pixar is
God, I
known to
didn't-
do, they put an Easter egg that kind of like foreshadows the next Pixar film.
Yeah, I did not catch that.
I didn't catch it either. When was it? Towards the end?
The end with that final battle with Omni Droid.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
I didn't. Also, the release of Finding Nemo, Incredibles, and Cars is really like messes with my head. I know Cars is after that, but I just feel like they all like if someone's like, yeah, they made those in like 2003, all of them. I'd say, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like the
Yeah.
timeline of it, but
I mean, technically, they were working on all three at the same time.
yeah, I would say so. You know, they
Probably.
already had Doc Hudson. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
if Paul Newman was voicing him yet. Could
Yeah.
you hear Paul Newman go, "Wait,
I don't
don't
think
hit
so.
the car"? No, okay.
So,
I didn't remember the
That
scene.
was a great impression.
Thanks. I think that's how he sounded.
so as he was taking his last breath.
From Road to
Yeah.
Perdition, I think that's how he sounded.
So we know The Invincibles was the original working title for The Incredibles, but the code title for this film during production was Tights.
How about
I
that?
like that.
Yeah, that works.
It couldn't be capes because none of them had super capes.
That's right.
They didn't. Yeah. Well, they
Yep.
took the advice. You don't wear capes.
Yep.
Yeah, Edna's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's true.
Did
Did you guys like the old outfits better than the red
No.
ones? No,
Not
Okay.
me.
Okay.
Did you?
I kind of like that. I kind of like the colors of it, but I mean, obviously, those animators made those red ones look better. So
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
tricked me.
all red everything for me. Now let's talk about like who could have been in the film, worked on the film, all that good stuff, what we like to call coulda, woulda, shoulda here on Drinking With. And I'm going to start with some people who were looking to be the composer of the film. And there's three of them actually that two of which ended up not happening. But John Barry, who composed from Russia with Love, Goldfinger, Midnight Cowboy, Dances with Wolves, and so many other James Bond films. He was originally hired to score the film in his James Bond style, but left the project after only recording a few demo themes, which some were used in the theatrical trailers for The Incredibles.
How about that?
Wow.
Remember, that's a real film composer.
Yeah, it is.
Right there.
And then he was replaced by Michael Kamen, who composed the scores to Polyester, Lethal Weapon, Roadhouse, and X-Men, to name a few. He was set to score the film, but then passed away during the scoring of the film.
That's selfish.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Jesus. So third time was the charm when Michael Giacchino, I probably butchered that, stepped up and composed The Incredibles. He also went on to do Ratatouille, Up, Cars 2, Inside Out, Coco, Incredibles 2, and Lightyear.
It's quite the resume.
The goat.
The goat.
The goat.
Speaking of goats, Brad Bird always wrote the character of Bob / Mr. Incredible as a Craig T. Nelson type, which obviously he ended up landing on Craig T. Nelson as the voice of Bob Peterson.
Yeah, you don't need a Craig T. Nelson type if you can get Craig T. Nelson.
Right.
But he did flirt with another legendary actor in Hollywood for the voice of Mr. Incredible.
Ooh.
Ted Danson.
Who has that booming voice? Legendary. I'm gonna say
I hope it's not like a De Niro or Pacino.
Paul Newman.
It's none of those.
I've heard of him. Have you heard my impression?
Yeah.
I have.
I can't say for fact he was the highest grossing film star in the 80s, but he was definitely in the top 5.
Burt Reynolds.
No, but that's a good guess.
It is a good guess because wasn't he a voice in some animated? What am I thinking? Maybe
no
not.
idea.
No, I'm gonna nip
And
that.
currently,
do we have one more hint and then you can just
currently He stars in one of the best drama comedies in television right now.
Harrison Ford.
There you go, Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford as Mr. Incredible, I could definitely see.
I could
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, I could too.
But he
Now-
had to save his animation debut for Super Pets.
I'll take your word for it.
Was that his animation?
No,
The
sorry. Secret
The
Life of Pets 2.
Yeah.
Secret
Okay.
Life of Pets 2 is the old farm
Okay.
dog. You know what?
So-
that would have. I actually could see that.
That would
Yeah.
be pretty
I'll
cool.
be honest. I kind of see Ted Danson still.
Sure. We mentioned Brad Bird did the voice of Edna.
Yeah.
Edna is the second female character in a Pixar film to be voiced by a male, the first being Roz from Monsters, Inc., which I did not know until doing research for this.
Roz. Oh,
that-
the FBI agent lady?
Yeah, the lady, at the office.
Oh, I did know it was by a guy, but I forgot who did it.
But
Ted
somebody
Danson?
was not Ted Danson.
Oh,
His name was Bob Peterson.
Bob Peterson.
That's the most average white man name I've ever heard.
Isn't it?
But
It is.
there was somebody voiced to play the part of Edna Mode, but she turned it down when she heard Brad Bird's vocal performance saying, "What do you need me for? You've got it already."
Oh, so someone's like,
Damn.
"Hey, I'm not even taking the money."
Yeah.
So they're
And-
already rich.
And I will tell you, it was one of the stars of 80 for Brady, Miss Lily Tomlin.
How about that?
Oh, I could see her saying that. Like, what do you need me for? Oh, honey, you spilled it on your shirt.
I did. Well, you don't have to comment
Sorry.
on it. Nobody listening to this podcast.
Nobody can see it.
I thought someone heard it.
Uh,
I could see Lily Tom, but yeah, I could see her voicing Edna, but I could also see her flat out saying, "Hey, man, what do you need me for?"
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not
for
getting
sure.
up for this.
Yeah.
I do have some coulda, woulda, shoulda in as far as other casts go. And for Helen / Elastigirl, Molly Shannon was considered for the role.
Yeah, I could
see that.
see that.
That's
for
I'm
sure.
not- yeah.
And then we have several that were considered for Mirage, which was Buddy's female helper, I guess
Oh
you
yeah,
could say.
yeah.
Alicia
Nicole-
Silverstone.
No.
Oh.
They go from one range to another. You have Nicole Kidman and Renee Zellweger up for the role
Oh wow.
against
Hot off Cold Mountain.
against Gina Rowlands and Debbie Reynolds.
Oh my god. Wow.
Dang. That's range.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Holy I love that. Why not Lily Tomlin?
Yeah, for real.
Damn.
But also talking about, range and different styles of acting for the role of Buddy, aka Syndrome, outside of Jason Lee, Joaquin Phoenix and Will Ferrell were up for those
Yeah.
roles.
I should have known. Joaquin sounds crazy, but Will Ferrell, I could so
Makes
see it.
perfect
Which
sense.
I mean, now I only think of him as Megamind anyway, but still,
I never saw Megamind.
it's fine.
Same.
Okay.
I mean, that's nothing great. I don't want to get anyone's hopes up.
I don't think we're going to be reviewing that one anytime soon.
Nah,
Got a few
So-
years, don't we?
yeah.
That's all I have for The Incredibles. Obviously, there's, I think there's a few fun quotes in the film and whatnot that are kind of done over and over. The little boy on the tricycle, his little vocal part I hear on TikTok videos all the time.
Is that
And
that Nepto guy?
the Nepto baby, yeah.
Mm-mm. Cancel.
Where's my
Yeah.
super suit?
Yeah, I was going to say that one. I don't know. I kind of feel like Edna is like
Oh,
the
yeah.
most quoted, I'm sure, because I mean, obviously she's the most kind of outlandish character, but also probably one of the best ones that they have. Like as
True.
far as just kind of like, she's a scene stealer, as they would say.
How convenient the guy who wrote and directed the film
Exactly.
gave his character the best lines.
Right, and gave his son a part. Brad Bird's a dick,
Bastard.
Abusing his power. for
abusing
sure.
his power
Yeah.
as a creator.
I don't have any lines that come to mind right away, but I just want to say we haven't talked about Jack enough on this podcast.
Yeah, and in the sequel, Jack gets a lot.
Yeah.
more.
He gets some shine.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's good to know.
Yeah, but
I
think
was
that
on the fence
kind of
about
the
watching it before, but now
yeah. Well, now and then let us know if undermine or starts the movie again.
Okay.
Sadly, we
Um,
have 14 more years to wait for Incredibles 2 on this
No, we'll be
podcast.
dead.
We'll be dead. Yeah.
The yeah, I don't really have any lines either. I guess it probably is that where's my super suit, and then yeah, I guess just with Edna and I mean, it's almost like the characters are more memorable, but I couldn't even I can't really think of like, oh man, that one line sure was good, or you use it
Yeah.
and whatever.
I think what was the Dash is the young boy. I think
Yeah.
he had a couple of lines. I just can't think of them off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Like it's one of my favorite Pixar films, if not my favorite Pixar film. But yeah, you're right. It's where the characters are more memorable than really anything they say throughout the film.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, shall we move on to our Mount Rushmore question for this episode?
Yeah.
I'm ready to
'Cause
go.
I've got nothing else to add. Favorite Pixar characters?
So I've got mine ready. Brandon is looking
Okay.
for his.
Well, I know some, but I want to make sure I don't forget them. So you go ahead. Go ahead.
It starts with Carl Fredricksen, first of all.
Yeah.
The old man from Up.
Yep.
That's one. I go with Buzz Lightyear because I think it was an iconic character from my childhood. I never caught I've only seen the first 2 Toy Stories, but I still I had all the action figures when I was a kid, loved Toy Story, wore it out. So there's a part of me that's like, I just love the character. I go Remy from Ratatouille. And then
Yep.
as a guilty pleasure, I am almost embarrassed to admit, because it is Larry the Cable Guy, how much I love Mater from Cars. So those are my 4.
I
Gotcha.
think I would go Carl as well. Wally.
Oh, Wally's a good one. I completely forgot about
Yeah.
Wally.
Woody. Mainly because I've seen all the Toy Stories,
Well,
and by the time you get to that third one, not that Buzz Lightyear is close, but for me, I think part of it is Woody represents a bygone era.
Well,
And
I
voiced
think
by Tom Hanks. I'm like, well, I
think
can't not.
that's why I felt compelled to justify the Buzz pick, because I feel like Woody probably is the better character, but Buzz Lightyear had the cooler action figures.
Well, yeah, because Woody is of a bygone era that no one wants to play with.
Woody's
anymore.
a doll.
Yeah.
You're a child's plaything.
And then so Wally, Woody, Carl, and then the last one's kind of it's kind of tough because I think Lightning McQueen is a fun one, but I
Yeah.
don't really enjoy all the Cars movies.
No.
So
I've only seen the first one.
and I'm kind of going with like Nemo or
Dory's a good one.
Or Dory would be a fun one, but you know what? I think I'm going to go with Joy from Inside Out and Inside Out 2. I like both of those, but I do like Amy Poehler's the way that character keeps. So I think overall, I would go with those 4.
What about you, McCash?
This was harder than I thought it would be. Coming up with like my top 2 was very easy, but then shuffling around. So I have a couple of honorable mentions. One, Mr. Potato Head from Toy Story.
Mm-hmm.
Love the voicing of that character. I really love Turning Red. So May from Turning Red, I really enjoyed.
I missed that.
And then I didn't mention that we could have discussed the Pixar shorts, but Pal.
Oh yeah.
I love Pal. So, but my 4 favorite Pixar characters, I went with Remy, Wally as well. Those have already both been mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I went with Elastigirl for obvious reasons.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Come on.
And an obscure one, kind of, Luca. I just love that film.
I would say I remember you really liking it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
good. Don't get me wrong, but it wouldn't be in my top ones. But I was having to look at all the Pixar movies to make sure, because some people think that, like, for instance, Encanto is Pixar, and it's not.
Yeah,
No.
That's just Disney. I almost chose the dinosaur from Good Dinosaur, because I still feel like that's one of the most underrated Pixar ones, because it came out the same year as Inside Out, and I think it's one of or not the lowest grossing Pixar movie, but I really enjoyed it. But I couldn't. I had to go with my girl Joy.
I'm surprised there was no mention of Mike Wazowski.
I dealt with Monsters, but I'll be honest. I think part of it is I liked them, but I really only like Monsters Inc.
Yeah,
I didn't really like Monsters University.
Yeah,
and I watched some of the show, but
I didn't even know there was a show.
Yeah, and there's just I don't know. I think sometimes and I mean, I guess you could argue with this a Toy Story, but I feel like those movies are so good. But it's almost like Somewhere Out There Welcome, so it wasn't as fun as it used to be, which is why I feel like the ones like Carl, I think besides being in maybe like a 1 or 2 short films, it's been up. So I feel like sometimes it kind of wears you down as far as like, and especially like Lightning McQueen is cool, and so is it Mater?
Mater, yeah,
But,
Tell Mater.
But then like but I can't help but associate those with the movies, and I'm like, well,
shitty movies.
Yeah, so I'm like, well, I don't know if
minus the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but yeah, I like those. I thought for sure you were going to say Wall-E. I was shocked.
No, I just completely drew a blank. I completely forgot. But
after us doing that and there's nothing like Wall-E to me.
I would kick Mater off for Wall-E.
For Wall-E. I don't blame you.
In hindsight, yeah.
I don't blame you.
But justice for Remy. I'm glad McCash had Remy on his
Represent
too.
You rat.
Yeah.
And it's the best ride at Disney. Next to the Rise of Resistance, the Ratatouille ride is phenomenal.
You should ride into Disney World and say, "Hey, can you make an Elastic Girl ride?" And put a hole right in her butt.
Just bury me in that ass.
Just let me ride in the back seat.
She's my favorite character.
Yeah. That's all I have for this episode of Drinking with the Incredibles, unless we have something else to add, gentlemen.
I think that's enough.
We've worn out our welcome.
Well, tell these fine folks where they can find you on these internet streets.
At Stoney Keeley on Twitter, at Sobros Network on all major social media platforms.
And at Sir Brandon V on Twitter, Sir Brandon on Letterboxd.
And then you can find me at MC_Cash75 on Twitter. Stephen McCash on Letterboxd as well. Make sure you check out all of our work at SobrosNetwork.com. Most importantly, subscribe to Drinking With wherever you get your podcast fix. Leave us a rating and review so we know what you think about the show. And let us know what movie that's turning 21 years old that you would like to discuss. So cheers to another episode of Drinking With, where we've explored the films that have had come of age, just like a fine wine. As we raise our glasses to movies turning 21, we've laughed, reminisced. We kind of shedded a tear because we had some big boners over timeless classics. So until next time, may your drinks be cold, your conversations lively, and your movie nights unforgettable. Drink responsibly, and remember, age is just a number, but great films are forever.